Karaoke is a platform for young aspiring singers to shine and express their musical abilities. Tune in to CBC TV8 on Mondays at 5:30 p.m. and repeat it on Saturdays at 2 p.m. and enjoy the performances of these talented young singers.
For the past 19 years, QFM has been sharing with you, learning from you, and together building a community for all mature audiences. That's why we say Q is good for you. To our Q family, we say thank you for staying connected to Q 100.7 FM. QFM is a station of the Caribbean Broadcasting Corporation. CBC, celebrating 60, connecting Barbadian communities. Are you a youth group, 4-H club, school, Cub Scout or Brownie Pack, or any organization or club with children ages 4 to 11 years? If yes is the answer, then we at Fun School, we're looking for you. Let's have fun singing, dancing, listening to amazing stories, doing craft, and so much more. I'm such a kid at heart. But to be part of this fun and exciting new season of Fun School, just simply send an email to Alicia Alves Grant at aagrant@cbc.bb for further details. Fun School is back, and we're looking for you.
While you go about your business, we go about our business, and that is gathering the news. Stay up to date at CBC News Barbados on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Get news update on radio throughout the day. And join us for the CBC News Night at 7 every night. CBC News team is on the job and bringing you the news.
There is a saying, you can find a Bajan anywhere. Are you a Bajan living abroad? Or do you know of one who has migrated to another country? Well, we at Mornin Barbados would love to have you or them on our Bajan Afar segment. Share your amazing stories, experiences, and how you have adapted to a new culture. Send us an email to morninbarbados@cbc.bb. And to
Good morning, I'm Wendy Burke, and this is the CBC Morning Report for Wednesday, January 31st. In our top story, officials are receiving more complaints about gang violence in schools across the island. That revelation from Minister of State in the Office of the Attorney General with a focus on crime prevention, Tory Lane. However, he says his team, including change agents from the National Peace Program, is moving to eliminate the root cause.
I was a bit disappointed with the number of calls, but even including from the Minister of Education, with a number of what some refer to as some gang wars in schools. So there've been an increase in calls, but what we have to look at is the data to make sure that, again, this is not just a feeling because there's an increased calls from my end, but that what is happening in the schools, that we do some research. And again, that's why we're working with the Criminal Justice Research and Planning Unit to ensure that we understand exactly what is going on. Now, we have a immediate target program where anytime that we are called, the change agents go to schools within 24 hours. Why is that important? A lot of these things over the years left to fester. And sometimes someone step on a toe, and then literally in one particular case, end up with a stake in somebody's head. And the timeline in between there is what we must use to prevent and avoid that. We work closely with the police, community police, in particular juvenile liaisons, the principals, the PTAs, and so on, to ensure that we can do some case conferences. And we found that that has been the most effective way to do it.
Minister Lane revealed more plans for international collaborations and sports training as outlets for at-risk youth.
Last year, remember, we had Arnie Duncan and his team from Chicago Cred visit us here last year. Now, he is in charge of a program in Chicago that looks at reforming gangs in Chicago. He's the former Secretary of Education under the Obama administration. And we're looking to visit them and take a team down there to look at some of the programs they're doing with gangs over there to see what are some of the programs that can be successful here. Again, data-driven. They too have some data in terms of what they're doing with their gangs and reform gang members. The Play for Peace is coming back again, the Jockey Edition, the Gold Cup Edition. And I am happy to say that I've signed off a proposal called Youth on Track, where we're again going to be targeting a lot of these at-risk youth that want to become jockeys. We have Christopher Ashby from Riding Scenes, Next Gen, and I've reached out and we are partnering with him as well. And I am extremely, extremely happy about that. That's one of my favorite programs as someone who worked in the industry for quite a while.
And the National Peace Program's Acting Director, Alison Roach Plummer, has been speaking of a special venture called Elevate the Peace, which will help youth channel their hobbies and aspirations into viable careers.
What we recognized was that the opportunities to engage, especially young, at-risk, vulnerable youth, were very, very minimum. And what I sought to do was create an opportunity for direct intervention clubs to become now the norm. And what is a direct intervention club? When we did flip the script, when we started, there were many of the young at-risk youth who identified things that they liked doing, to be a barber. Some of them wanted to bake. Some of them wanted to cook. Some of them wanted to become designers. How do you design and you can't sew? How do you become a chef and can't cook? So what we sought to do was put strategies and opportunities in place that the direct intervention clubs will go into communities. And yes, you are correct, Minister. Many persons shy away from the opportunity to go into that community and have engagement or have interactions with these youth. And that is what the National Peace Program is doing. We are engaging them, but we're also offering them the opportunity to be trained, to be taught, to be given an opportunity.
The Electoral and Boundaries Commission returns to normal operations and regular registration process as of February 1st, 2024. That's according to Minister of Industry, Innovation, Science and Technology, Marcia Caddo. She says EBC will now move to the stage of validating the addresses of those who have pre-registered.
That this is a standard electoral function and practice with respect to the register of voters. Address verification is done on a rolling basis and has for decades been used to maintain the integrity of the voting system by address and by constituency. The process itself is not unique to the new ID, though on this occasion all new registrants, not just electors, will have our addresses verified. Why? Sir, this is required if the information on addresses must stand as a true representation of proof of address, as it must for financial institutions, utilities, and others.
Coming up on the CBC Morning Report, we'll tell you how St. Lucia is dealing with noise pollution.
There is a saying, you can find a Bajan anywhere. Are you a Bajan living abroad? Or do you know of one who has migrated to another country? Well, we at Mornin Barbados would love to have you or them on our Bajan Afar segment. Share your amazing stories, experiences, and how you have adapted to a new culture. Send us an email to morninbarbados@cbc.vb. And together we will travel the world.
Draft legislation to address noise levels in St. Lucia have been crafted. The announcement was made by Member of Parliament for Grosile, Kenton Casimir. Some of his constituents have repeatedly complained about the noise generated by area businesses. TBS reports.
The proposed amendment to the Act was prompted primarily by complaints from residents of Rodney Bay. The residents have been at odds with area businesses over what they say is the excessively loud music played into the wee hours of the morning. The proposed amendments not only aim to address the residents' issues, but also regulate noise throughout the island.
The Attorney General did provide a first draft of what that legislation, in fact, an amendment to the noise pollution legislation would look like. It found itself in the public domain, and as a government that is in full belief for transparency, we have absolutely no issues with people from the community opining on what they've seen. The key parts of the legislation in terms of what did not exist before we as a government decided that we're going to do what we said we're going to do and provide representation for all. I can see my predecessors never did, was to deal with decibel levels. This is a new method of measuring, an objective method of measuring noise. And so at the end of the day, once you get the different decibel levels, that should provide some level of comfort for people to enjoy themselves, while at the end of the day not really infringing on the rights of others to have some level of peace. The fact of the matter is we have different parts of St. Lucia that are dual sort of, it functions as both an entertainment area and residency. And so you will not find a common ground all the time. But we are definitely, as a government, we've worked very hard to ensure that we arrive at a level that should be able to give the police something to work with.
Casimir disclosed that the government is currently fine-tuning the legislation while it continues to have discussions with business owners and residents. The Grosile MP, however, acknowledges that the draft legislation may not please every stakeholder.
The fact of the matter is everybody's not going to be happy. There is just absolutely no way to make everybody happy as it pertains to noise pollution. But what we have to do as a government is to provide the legislation and to ensure that the police, as much as possible, ensure that the laws are upheld.
Guyana's President, Dr. Irfan Ali, says there are massive opportunities for increasing trade between Africa and the Caribbean. However, he notes this can only be realized if current trade barriers and regulations are fixed. Dr. Ali was at the time addressing an event in Accra, Ghana, at the weekend.
President Ali, who is also the current chairman of the Caribbean Community, highlighted that of 2020, less than 0.1% of African exports are destined for the Caribbean. Moreover, the share exports from Africa to the Caribbean has been consistently declining since 2015. The president further notes that the Caribbean's exports to Africa have also displayed a similar trend, adding that trade between the two regions is highly concentrated around primary minerals. However, in order for this to increase, certain issues need to be addressed.
We have to fix the trade barriers. We have to fix the issues of transport and logistics. We have to fix the rules between ourselves that will help to stimulate trade and advance trade between our countries.
According to the Guyanese head of state, such improvements can contribute to achieving food security and other key objectives.
And when you look at our region population, you may say that our population is very small. But what we give to Africa, to investors from Africa, is access to a market of over 400 million people in which we have trade arrangement and trade agreement.
Pointing to aquaculture as an example, the president said that the aquaculture market in the U.S. is $4 billion annually, and Guyana is among the most competitive countries when it comes to aquaculture and the production of fish products for the U.S. market.
You have the know-how, you have the technology, we have the land, we have the competitive advantage. What if we merge? What if we merge? And for us to do this, we have to think outside of the box. We have to look beyond the traditional areas that we have looked at. And the Caribbean and Guyana presents this very important opportunity for you here.
Additionally, President Ali emphasized that Africa and the Caribbean can collaborate on other critical issues such as climate security and energy security.
Professor Justin Robinson has been formally welcomed into his role as the new Pro-Vice Chancellor and Principal of the UWI Five Islands campus in Antigua and Barbuda. Professor Robinson of Ascension is the third principal to head the Five Islands campus since it was established in September 2019. Professor Robinson, during his induction ceremony, pledged his unwavering commitment to the pursuit of knowledge, innovation, and excellence.
As I embark on this opportunity to lead at the highest level in the UWI, I'm reminding of the view expressed by former Vice Chancellor Rex Nettleford, where he said that the UWI is the Caribbean region's best gift to itself. You know, access to a world-class university education delivered by a Caribbean university fully grounded in all the contextual complexities of the Caribbean, I think has been one of the most positive, transformative developments on our journey to date as a Caribbean civilization. Many of us today have experienced that. And as we go through this mission in Five Islands, one of the things I really want to challenge the society, a landed UWI campus in your space really can challenge your notions of elitism and who is bright and who has access to education and who can get a degree. When I went into sixth form in St. Vincent in 1983, the class there were 28 of us. And the teachers were all complaining about how big this class was. So if you go back then, there were 28 persons going into sixth form on that route. Now St. Vincent has a massive community college. So a UWI landed campus in your space, you must be prepared to really drop these elitist notions. As the Vice Chancellor says, we are an elite university, but we are not elitists. So Antiguans from all walks of life, people in the Eastern Caribbean, will now be able to get a degree. It will no longer be something for that special few bright people.
Pakistan's former Prime Minister Imran Khan has been jailed for 10 years over the leaking of state secrets just days ahead of elections. Khan's party has called it a sham trial. Here's a quick summary of what we know.
Well, the former Prime Minister Imran Khan and the former Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi were being tried in a special court. They are already under detention in jail, in Adiala jail, which is not very far from here. This special court, of course, went late into the night last night, and that, of course, raised a lot of eyebrows given the fact that it was seen to be done in haste. So 10 years rigorous imprisonment now announced by that judge. Now earlier, the Islamabad High Court had ruled that this has to be an open trial. The media must be given access. His legal team must be given access. However, that was denied. The judge appointed his own defense counsel and then read out this sentence of 10 years rigorous imprisonment in a diplomatic cipher, which is communication between the embassy and the foreign ministry. He was accused of divulging that which is seen to be a state secret, so therefore the Official Secrets Act. However, his lawyers said that this was a travesty of justice given the fact that despite the Islamabad High Court's order, the media was not allowed and they were not allowed to represent him as far as his legal team is concerned.
Israel's use of white phosphorus munitions is costing Lebanese farmers near the border millions of dollars. The internationally banned weapons in civilian areas will cause environmental damage for years to come. Al Jazeera's Imran Khan reports.
Under international human rights law, this should not be happening. The use of white phosphorus munitions, while not banned outright, is illegal when used in civilian areas, like this town of Khiam along the disputed border with Israel. White phosphorus burns through anything it comes into contact with, clothes, skin, muscle, bone. It destroys livestock and makes land unfit for sowing crops, potentially for at least a generation. For Israel, it's not unusual to use such weapons.
What we've seen in Lebanon and Gaza is that Israel, in the case of Gaza, we documented the use of white phosphorus in populated areas, which is a violation of IHL. Human Rights Watch also documented the use of white phosphorus in Lebanon, and other right groups, including Amnesty International, have noted that Israel has apparently used white phosphorus indiscriminately on civilian areas, which would amount to a violation of international humanitarian law.
Israel has a stock response when it comes to white phosphorus munitions, saying it adheres to international law. The mayor of the agricultural town of Eitarun is currently living in the town of Dir, having been forced from his home by fighting. He's an agricultural expert and tells us they won't know exactly how much damage has been done until they survey it when they return. But he knows the damage is extensive and long-term.
Phosphorus has a significant impact on the soil, given that it can react in a slow manner and seep into groundwater. In addition, it may lead to an imbalance in the environmental, ecological diversity and in groundwater, rivers and rain. The direct damage is caused by rapid burning that can affect humans, plants, animals, etc.
This is what the aftermath of a white phosphorus attack looks like. All the vegetation across a fairly wide area here, all blackened and burnt. But this is just a tiny fraction of the damage. The closer you get to the border, the more scenes like this that you'll see. $20 million worth of damage, according to the Lebanese Agricultural Ministry, across that disputed border. But for the farmers, there is another problem. These white phosphorus attacks cause an enormous amount of environmental damage, meaning that these fields and fields like this may not be plantable for at least a generation.
Time now to preview what's coming up on Morning Barbados. This morning, we're going to be talking HR again. Yes, we're going to be having Hermab in the house. We're going to be looking at HR in focus once again and what's trending. And you too can get a chance to call and find out some things that you may have some concerns about this morning on our lines, 228-5562, 228-5563, and speak with the President, Nicholas Roberts. Also up this morning, Berger Paints has undertaken a benchmarking study. You'll find out exactly what that is all about. Then we have Harrison College. Yes, their robotics club is going to be here with us. They recently attended a robotics fair, and you'll find out what that club is looking to do and how those little ones represented for us. Also, we're going to be having SAFE on board. Yes, shaping adolescents to function in their environment. You'll find out exactly what those individuals are doing with SAFE. So it's going to be a great morning to look forward to. But before, let's go to more news, sports, and weather after the break.
Oh, hi. My name is Stacia Whitaker, and I'm a registered dietitian nutritionist and a member of the Heart and Stroke Childhood Obesity Prevention Coalition. My motto is...
Workers at the University of the West Indies Cave Hill campus will continue their industrial action this morning. They have been given the green light by General Secretary of the Barbados Workers Union, Tony Moore. The announcement follows a work stoppage by scores of workers from several departments yesterday. The workers returned to work after about an hour. In a statement, the BWU General Secretary explained that the union has been in dialogue with the university for the past 9 months, advocating for the fair and timely compensation of staff. But Ms. Moore says despite assurances from the university, it has not yet met its commitment to adjust salaries and allowances as agreed upon. As such, she says the situation has escalated to a point the union can no longer accept.
And resilience of our workers has been tested time and time again. They have waited, hoped, and endured promises of payments that have remained unfulfilled. Because the university failed to communicate the necessary information to the Ministry of Education before the end of last year, the assurances given by them, contingent on the release of funds from the Ministry of Finance, have not materialized, leaving the staff there at the university as the only group yet to receive their due financial adjustments.
Ms. Moore says unless a satisfactory agreement is reached beforehand, industrial action is imminent.
The temperature of discontent has risen and it is no longer tenable to continue without taking decisive action. Therefore, the Executive Council of the Barbados Workers Union has responded to the instructions from its members at UWI Cave Hill and has given the green light for industrial action to commence tomorrow, January 31st, 2024, unless, of course, an appropriate settlement is reached before then.
CBC reached out to the University of the West Indies and was advised it will be issuing a statement in response. A break-in at a gas station that involved money being taken from an automatic teller machine has had far-reaching consequences for the business and the community. I visited the area and the incident happened last December, and the impact is still being felt by residents and workers in the area. The Rubis gas station was burgled and thousands of dollars reportedly taken from the Scotiabank automated teller machine inside. Police sources have confirmed that the Belplain St. Andrew incident took place, but did not give any more details. I spoke with the representative for Northern SS and Company Limited, the company which operates the gas station. An on-camera interview was denied, but he confirmed the unfortunate incident, noting the community is still dealing with the consequences. He said on entering the building, the thieves went directly for the ATM and removed all the cash, and following the incident, the bank removed the machine. He added it has impacted his business and the community quite a bit, as St. Andrew doesn't have a lot of these amenities, and many relied on it to get salaries, cash, and pay bills. According to him, the station is also losing because customers getting cash usually spent some of it at the convenience store or the nearby farm and garden store, which he also operates. Having been in business for almost 30 years, he says they experience many forms of crimes, from robberies by gunmen to break-ins at night. This one came after an incident-free 2 years, but was different because the ATM was targeted. With a municipal center, schools, and an agricultural station in the area, the machine was heavily used. The postal workers told me they now have to journey to Spikestown or Horse Hill, several miles away, to access an ATM. Others who were accustomed to using it have lamented its removal. The burglary is still under investigation by police. Wendy Burke, CBC News. And as Queen's College celebrates its 141st anniversary, students are being told to embody the school's motto and be the light in society. The advice from alumna Darian Miller as he delivered the feature address at a Thanksgiving service in the school hall. He notes this could manifest in selfless service to peers and fellow citizens.
Fiat Lux, and when you graduate, Forte Lux, mean in a practical sense. What does carrying the light look like on a day-to-day basis? The thing about light is that it is most effective in dark spaces. Dark spaces can be uncomfortable, they can be confusing, and oftentimes cold. Light brings warmth, clarity, and comfort to a situation, and that is what is expected of you as lights. Oftentimes, being a light, illuminating paths for others, can be extremely taxing. Light is one of those things that often goes unappreciated and unrecognized, oftentimes.
It went down to the wire, but West Indies under-19s pulled off a 3-run victory over Sri Lanka's under-19s in the Super 6 stage at the ICC World Cup in South Africa. Sri Lanka won the toss and chose to bat first at Diamond Oval, scoring a respectable total of 231 runs. Dunaran Kalupahana with 53 and Malsha Tharapathy, 42, were the standout performers with the bat, forming a crucial partnership of 51 runs. Renico Smith was the star bowler for West Indies, taking 4 for 47. In reply, the Windies under-19s just managed to ease home on 232 for 7 with 3 balls to spare. Stephen Wedderburn led with 61, assisted with 39 from Jordan Johnson and 33 from captain Stefan Pascal, and unbeaten 27 from Nathan Seeley. Meanwhile, Pakistan clinched victory by 3 wickets with 38 balls to spare against Ireland's under-19s. The scores: Ireland under-19s 181 in 48.4 overs and Pakistan 182 for 7 in 43.5. India thrashed New Zealand under-19s by 241 runs. The scores in that match: India 295 for 8, New Zealand 81 all out in 28.1 overs. It's time now to take a look at today's weather picture. The barometric pressure currently stands at 1013.8 millibars and the temperature is 25.7 degrees Celsius. The humidity is 88% and the winds are from the east-southeast at 23 kilometers per hour. The weather is presently fair and there's some slight haze. The seas are smooth to moderate and open water with swells ranging from 1 to 2 meters and steady. The first high tide will be at 7:15 a.m. and the second at 7:18 p.m. The first low tide will be at 12:52 a.m. and the second at 1:15 p.m. The forecast for today: it's going to be partly sunny with a few isolated light showers. Tonight is expected to be mostly clear with a few brief isolated light showers. Coming up on the Morning Barbados, we'll be talking with Nicholas Roberts, the president of HERMAP, who will be enlightening us on the trends.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Barbados, get up. Good morning, Barbados, good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning, 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 morning.
We are already at the end of 1 month into 2024. Welcome to Wednesday. On Morning Barbados this morning, we have HERMAP in the house. Yes, we're going to be talking to HERMAP, and you're going to get to talk to them as well in the second part of this interview because you'll get to call 228-5562, 228-5563. This morning, we're going to be talking to the president, Nicholas Roberts, about what's trending. Yes, with HR in focus, what is trending? Good morning to you, Nicholas.
Good morning. How are you doing?
I am well. Now, based on some of the recent developments in Barbados, we just saw one right there. What does the HR and labor landscape look like at this point?
So, as you can recognize, anyone can recognize, things are pretty volatile at the moment. And I think this is an after effect of, let's go back and look at COVID. After the aftershocks of COVID, we saw the hospitality sector was significantly impacted in terms of many workers were laid off. Now, obviously, 2-3 years post-pandemic, we're still seeing a lot of civil unrest. And that is because I know we've heard from a lot of the stakeholders in terms of the external factors impacting Barbados, whether it be geopolitical, whether it be environmental, whatever the case is. So you're seeing the rising costs overseas, whether it be import costs, food costs, all those things, or what does that mean to the normal citizen at home? And people are feeling uncomfortable. So when you go into the supermarket, your purchasing power is less. When you get paid your salary, you don't have as much money. So it's as simple as that. And there are historical factors, or historical grievances that have not been handled through the interaction with the labor movement and the labor unions and employers. And we're now seeing those bubbling and coming to the forefront. So all of these things are now being pushed forward even more so, like I said, coming from COVID 2-3 years later.
Okay, one of the other things that we saw coming out of COVID was the creation of a lot more entrepreneurs and self-employed individuals. And one of the things government has been asking those self-employed individuals to do is to register with the NIS. However, the NIS, the National Insurance Social Security Service, is now what we have. They have had a change as well. What does that mean for this country?
So the changes to NASSS, no, that is being called. We're seeing that Barbados has an aging population. We've heard that. What does that mean for Barbados? It means that the fund, if it is not replenished within enough time, it will not be beneficial to the citizens of Barbados within the next 10 to 15 to 20 years based on the projections by the actuaries. I'm not an actuary, but what we can look at it from an HR perspective, what does that mean once again? I always try to look at things from the normal everyday person, the normal worker. What does that mean for me if it is that when I'm getting ready to retire, how much money do I have to be given to me in my pension fund or in my pension scheme? And what we're seeing is that the changes that they've made are to ensure that a few years down the line, the fund still is able to pay out money. Once again, like I said, through the aging population and then through brain drain coming into being a result of many of our younger persons leaving Barbados, we're seeing a lot of people taking from the fund, which would be the pensioners, as they should, because they've made their contributions, and then you're saying the fund is not being replenished by the younger persons because of brain drain and other factors. So a long-winded way of saying that the fund is being refocused, retooled to see how it is that it can meet the needs of the citizens of the country.
Okay, now in terms of this brain drain that you're speaking to, is that one of the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic, with individuals having lost work and perhaps not finding it back or wanting to be in another space? Has that been one of the outcomes? And what other things what other residual impact have been seen on the labor force from COVID?
So yes and no. So this is what I will say. If you look at our education system within Barbados, I think that it needs to be retooled from pre-primary up until to tertiary. We are not meeting the needs in terms of training our young people, training our workforce to meet the global demand. And what you're saying is that whether, let's say you're creative as an example, you do not necessarily have the avenues to make money within Barbados. Also, if you look at the way that the world is going now, globalization, so the internet has made things more accessible for persons. So you could literally be working in Barbados, but doing a job for someone in United States, Europe, wherever the case may be. And that is the beauty of the internet, the beauty of globalization. And that has created opportunities for persons that they may not necessarily have opportunities here in Barbados to seek work elsewhere. So whether it is that they're physically working elsewhere or they're mentally using their talents or their skills to work elsewhere, that is where we're seeing the brain drain in terms of people leaving Barbados. Like I said, whether it be physical or whether it is that they're using the technology to work remotely. That is where we're seeing the brain drain coming in terms of people not necessarily working within Barbados and contributing to the national labor force.
Okay, now in terms of the workspace and where we're going globally, there's been a paradigm shift of sorts where we're now talking about diversity, equity, inclusion. Yeah? What strategies has Barbados and HR in Barbados adopted to ensure that we too create that inclusive workplace culture?
Let me say this, because we discussed this, or Mab discussed this almost a year ago on this said program, and it was reading the comments, and people were saying that the panelists and I were trying to push an agenda. I want to say, Hermab, HR practitioners are not looking to push an agenda. We as HR practitioners are here to take care of the workforce. That is part of our mandate within an organization. With that being said, things need to change. I understand that Barbados is a conservative society. So if we look at something as simple as men or boys wearing their hair plaited or braided within schools or the workforce. I heard various comments on various news platforms and even online in terms of that being a change. A small change, but a significant change. Why is it significant? Because we as black people, we're a country made up of predominantly black people or people of African descent. Why is it so controversial for a boy to have his hair plait, for a young man to wear earrings, these simple things? How is that going to impact the work that I am doing as an adult working in an organization or a young man going to school? And these simple things contribute to the diversity and inclusion that the diversity and inclusion movement. They're small, but they're significant. Simple things as once upon a time, many years ago, if you look at the hospitality sector, women could not wear braids within the workplace. No. Simple things like that. So the whole purpose of diversity and inclusion is that you come as you are because you are able to bring your talents to the workforce, your skills to the workforce. Obviously within the realm of professionalism, and that is debatable based on the environment that you're working within. But at the core and the heart of it, it is that you bring who you are to the workplace without feeling as if you are victimized. And the government has put legislation in place in terms of the Discrimination Bill and Discrimination Act to ensure that people are not discriminated against within the workplace.
It's been put in place, passed in Parliament, prorogued even. That does not necessarily change my mindset.
Correct.
Or my mentality.
Correct.
When it comes to how I believe people should look or act in a workspace.
And you hit the nail on the head. Once again, it comes down to, I always say our organizations are microcosms of the countries or the culture that they operate within. A national culture will shape an organizational culture. So if it is, say for instance, you have a multi-regional or multi-organizational entity working within Barbados, whether it be North American, European, etc., working within Caribbean, they're going to bring their workplace practices, policies, procedures into Barbados. But at the same time, sometimes there's going to be a butting of the heads if it is that you have people working within that organization that necessarily do not agree or are pushing back against it. Because within the North American and the American context, they're a bit more progressive and a bit more open-minded to things, whether it be dress, the way that you wear your hair, sexual orientation, race, etc., etc. Those things are more, like I said, progressive within those parts of the world. And I understand, once again, bringing it back home to Barbados, that we're a bit conservative. But at the end of the day, I think we need to be more open-minded that when someone comes into the workspace, to your point, whether you agree with the way that they dress, the way that they speak, whatever the case is, people are there to do a job. And once someone is not disrespecting you, I think that people need to work within the confines of respecting one another. I may not agree with how you wear your hair, I may not agree with what you choose to do outside of the workspace, but when you come into the work environment, the role of an HR practitioner and business leaders is to ensure that all persons working within the workspace feel as if they are safe within the work environment that they're operating within. Whether it's from a health and safety perspective, whether it's from an operational perspective, people just feel as if they're able to come to work and do their job without the fear of being victimized for whatever reason or whatever the point may be.
But I also believe that one of the things that has to be front of mind is the fact that me having green or purple hair is not necessarily breaching any company's rules. I'm not divulging company secrets. I think we need to sometimes perhaps pay a little bit more attention to those things and ensuring that people act as professional as possible within that workspace.
You're correct. Like I said, how is someone's green hair impacting them doing their job? And you need to answer yourself these questions. Like I said, I understand we operate within the confines of the country that we're in and the culture that we're in, but you're totally correct. Is it that if it is that I'm working a customer facing job and I'm working within, let's just use a doctor's office as an example, is my clientele going to have a issue with my receptionist having green hair? So is the receptionist's green hair going to impact my bottom line in terms of clients may not, or my patients may not want to come into my doctor's office because they feel offended with the person having green hair? Then you, as the business owner, the doctor in this case in point, you need to determine, is this the type of clientele that I want to have? And once again, how is my receptionist's green hair going to impact her being able to answer the phone, greet clients, do my administrative tasks and duties? Those type of things you need to look at.
Okay, what are some of the other things that are trending now in terms of whether it be a shift or a negative blowback?
So I think we hit on terms of the civil unrest that we're seeing within Barbados. We're also seeing, like I said, the aftershocks of the COVID pandemic. And then, as you mentioned, we're seeing globalization through the world of work. Also, we're seeing in terms of, I think, work from home practices are still being pushed back against in terms of, once again, we're in a post-pandemic era. But I don't know if we've necessarily learned as much as we should have from the pandemic. Once upon a time, we had the majority of our workforce, if possible, working from home. Now we're still seeing a lot of employers pushing back against that. And that is not just in Barbados. That is across the region and the world at large. So that is a trend that we're seeing in terms of...
Because again, we think we have to see you to measure that.
Correct. So management by walking about and BWA is actually a thing.
Okay.
So yeah, people actually, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
we're going to talk a bit more about that when we come back after the break. I'm here with Nicholas Roberts, the president of HERMAT. Mornin Barbados will be back. Get to your phone lines, call us. Nicholas is here ready to answer all of your questions. 228-5562, 228-5563.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Enjoy movies, soaps, drama, comedy, inspiration, education, music, and more. You get it all when you get MCTV, because MCTV gives you more.
The facts say Morning Barbados reaches an audience of over 50,000 and Newsnight reaches over 56,000. It's simple. When you advertise, you're getting your message to over 50,000 of your potential customers. Make the call to CBC Sales Department today and watch your business grow. Contact us at 467-5559 or email marketing@cbc.bb. From the beautiful shores of the gem of the Caribbean, Barbados, home of the amazing Harrison's Cave, the tantalizing Oystins Bay Garden, our historic garrison, the indigenous road tennis, and the friendliest people in the world. We are 94.7 FM, the ultimate Bajan experience.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
And we're back. Now, during the break, I would have had a query from one of our viewers wondering about the issue of age. They're not quite yet at retirement, but they would have been a little bit of downsizing in the workspace. They still have lots of talents to give, but yet still no one is rehiring at their age and stage. Is this a constant trend, or is this a one-off, Nicholas?
Yes, so ageism is something that we see within the workforce, once again, not within Barbados. So even something as simple as sometimes people would send in a CV or application and they would put dates. And there are some persons that would actually sit down and try to calculate the person's age, or there are some persons that would actually put their age, their marital status, a picture. Those are things that I would advise persons against using on their CV because it could be used to discriminate against you. And once again, that ties back into the diversity and inclusion that we were speaking of earlier. Simple things like that within the workforce. I know, to your point, sometimes when workplaces are looking to make cuts, they may necessarily look at the older persons or the more mature persons within the workforce, even though they have a lot to still contribute. But at the same time, you still need to have a good mix within the workforce. Those mature persons that have the historical knowledge and those younger persons that have the energy and the zeal to bring that together to make sure that a workforce operates and an organization operates at its optimum.
And that's so correct. Remember, viewers, you can call us 228-5562, 228-5563 if you have any workplace queries in terms of what's trending now within the labor landscape. Now, let's go back and look at that issue as it relates to the NIS. Now, we know that the age was changed to 67 because of the contributions and the number of people who are going to be going out en masse in terms of retirement versus the fact that those coming in are not as much, and there's going to be a gap there in terms of our contributions. Should workplaces maybe perhaps re-examine being sticklers for leaving at that age if individuals still have all of their cognitive senses, everything's working, they can still be as mobile as they need to be within the particular space?
Totally, definitely. As I mentioned just now, it is very important for an organization to have a good mix. Whatever your mix is in terms of the female to male ratio, the age ratio, whatever the case may be, different people bring different talents and different skill sets to the workplace. I understand that the more mature persons have a different way of thinking in terms of the workspace. Even we see it as HR practitioners within the organizations. I think there's this phenomenon that we're seeing there about 4 different in terms of generations working within the workplace at this time, and that creates its own challenges at times, because imagine people from within the 1950s right up to people being born within the 2000s working within a workplace, and they all have different ways and approaches to doing things. And like I said, that can have issues in terms of people clashing, but at the same time, when it is that you harness those skills to the best way and the best ways possible, you get a very productive workforce, because the way that someone that may be more mature may think and see things and the historical knowledge that they have of the organization is invaluable, and it cannot be replaced by technology or a younger person who may have just left university who is just trying to develop themselves as a professional. They may not necessarily have the way of thinking or looking at an outlook within the organization that a younger person or someone within 5-10 years may have within the organization.
One key word cropped up there in your response, that's technology. Some workplaces have found it very difficult to retool older individuals. They're very averse to the technology and learning the new way, or they may want to use that seniority to force a younger individual to, do certain tasks which are computer related for them, because as far as they're concerned, they're soon out the gate, so they're not about taking it up.
You're correct. So once again, my job and the job of HR practitioners and business leaders within the organization is to try to find a way to get those more mature persons to utilize technology. Some of them are, I guess, afraid of the technology pushing them out, or to your point, they're averse to it because to your point, they're thinking, I'm on my way out, so why do I need to learn something new? But I implore anyone, whether they be mature or a younger person, never be, the world is changing so much that I don't think that you should ever be afraid of change or being able to retool yourself, change. Even if it is that you retire at 65 or 67, you still have a lot of life to live. And within your personal life, you still have to use technology. So if it is that you have 2, 3, 4, 5 years within your workspace and the technology can help you do things better, why is it that you should push back against it? If it is that you know that you may be struggling, put your hands up and say that you're struggling. I'm a younger person, and sometimes the world is moving so fast that I too sometimes have to retool and retrain myself. So I think it's just all of us being able to, like I said, utilize the technology to make things a bit easier for us, both in our personal and our professional lives.
Just open our minds a bit more.
Correct.
Remember, you can call us 228-5562, 228-5563. This morning, we're with HERMAB, Nicholas Roberts, their president. Now, how much impact are we seeing of the global trends taking over some of our local workspaces? And this is both for the positive and the negative.
So in terms of the global trends, I think we hit the nail on the head in terms of technology. And I think everyone is tired of hearing about AI in terms of artificial intelligence, ChatGPT, or whatever the case may be. I think workplaces within Barbados and the wider region, the Caribbean, are realizing that if we don't catch up, we're going to be left behind. And I've been saying this from the time HERMAB started this program. We are realizing that we need to use the technology to make businesses more efficient. Barbados has been criticized on the world stage in terms of the ease of doing business, in terms of how easy it is to walk into an organization or a business place, whether it be public or private sector, and get things done. And I think we've realized that we've reached that pinnacle or that boiling point, that if it is that we do not use the technology that we have at our disposal to retool, reorganize, to operationalize our organizations and our businesses, we within the Caribbean region, especially Barbados, are going to be left behind. So it is just now for us, yes, we've come to that realization to utilize the technology to make things better. That is the pro. I think we've realized that we need to use the technology. The con is that we are not catching up as fast as we should to the progressive or the developing nations, because many of them, for better or worse, have implemented AI and technology within their workspaces to make things easier for the business. At the end of the day, I always say business is there to make money. That is nothing airy-fairy or far-fetched for our organization. Even with people within the organization,
when they make money, you get paid.
Correct. And if they're not making money, we go home. That is the reality of it. So if it is that we can use technology to make things easier for ourselves and to make businesses run more efficiently, I think it is that within the like you said, whether it be private sector or the public sector, we should be looking to see how it is that we could use the tools at our disposal to make things better for our business places and not push back against it. And I would say the con is that we haven't caught up in terms of how it is the working world or the developed nations have been able to operationalize technology to make things more efficient within their business spaces.
And what is HERMAB going to be doing to help with that thrust?
So we are, in terms of developing our HR practitioners, whether HR practitioners within HERMAB work across all sectors and industries within Barbados. So it is us at the forefront of our HR practitioners to be able to advise our business leaders to say, these are the trends that we're seeing in terms of technology, in terms of the labor unrest, in terms of how it is you develop your talent, how it is that you develop your managers, how it is that you motivate your staff. And when it is that we as HR practitioners are able and tooled in order to inform our businesses, then I think our businesses are in a better place to meet the demands being thrust upon them on the global landscape. So I would say is that we're preparing our HR practitioners in order to meet the business demands both on a local, international, and regional front.
Okay, and finally, what advice would you have to get them to all work in harmony? Quick tip.
Quick tip. Do not fight change. I think that is at the crux of it. Like I said, technology is going to be getting bigger and bigger. More programs are going to be coming in the workspace. Work with the technology to make things better for yourself. But at the heart of it, still finding a way to utilize your talent, utilize your people, whether their age, whether their race, their ethnicity, to see that gentle balance and that gentle harmony of working together to operationalize things.
Okay, and I thank you for working with me this morning, Mr. Nicholas Roberts, the president of HERMAB, looking at what's trending. We'll take a break and be back with some news.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
From the beautiful shores of the gem of the Caribbean, Barbados, home of the amazing Harrison's Cave, the tantalizing Oystons Bay Garden, our historic garrison, the indigenous road tennis, and the friendliest people in the world. We are 94.7 FM, the ultimate Bajan experience.
Hi, I'm Dr. Kia Lewis, general practitioner and healthy lifestyle advocate. Good nutrition starts at home. So this school year, I want you to consider packing healthy, nutritious snacks and lunches for your children to carry, rather than having them buy them at school. And don't just pack things you think they should have. Have a discussion and come up with things that you both know they will enjoy.
We enjoy a game of dominoes and singing karaoke.
I just love crew.
Morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
With your morning news recap, I'm Wendy Burke. Officials are receiving more complaints about gang violence in schools across the island. That revelation from Minister of State in the Office of the Attorney General with a focus on crime prevention, Corey Lane. However, he says his team, including change agents from the National Peace Program, is moving to eliminate the root cause.
They was a bit disappointed with the number of calls, but even including from the Minister of Education, with a number of what some refer to as some gang wars in schools. So there've been an increase in calls. But what we have to look at is the data to make sure that, again, this is not just a feeling because there's an increased calls from my end, but that what is happening in the schools, that we do some research. And again, that's why we're working with the Criminal Justice Research and Planning Unit to ensure that we understand exactly what is going on. Now, we have a immediate target program where anytime that we are called, the change agents go to schools within 24 hours. And why is that important? A lot of these things over the years left to fester. And sometimes someone step on a toe, and then literally in one particular case, end up with a stake in somebody's head. And the timeline in between there is what we must use to prevent and avoid that. We work closely with the police, community police, in particular juvenile liaisons, the principals, the PTAs, and so on, to ensure that we can do some case conferences. And we found that that has been the most effective way to do it.
National collaborations and sports training as outlets for at-risk youth.
Last year, remember, we had Arnie Duncan and his team from Chicago CRED visit us here last year. Now, he is in charge of a program in Chicago that looks at reforming gangs in Chicago. He's the former Secretary of Education under the Obama administration. And we're looking to visit them and take a team down there to look at some of the programs they're doing with gangs over there to see what are some of the programs that can be successful here. Again, data-driven. They too have some data in terms of what they're doing with their gangs and reform gang members. The Play for Peace is coming back again, the Jockey Edition, the Gold Cup Edition. And I am happy to say that I've signed off a proposal called Youth on Track, where we're again going to be targeting a lot of these at-risk youth that want to become jockeys. We have Christopher Ashby from Riding Scenes, Next Gen, and I've reached out and we are partnering with him as well. And I am extremely, extremely happy about that. That's one of my favorite programs as someone who worked in the industry for quite a while.
And the National Peace Program's acting director, Alison Roach Plummer, has been speaking of a special venture called Elevate the Peace, which will help youth channel their hobbies and aspirations into viable careers.
What we recognized was that the opportunities to engage, especially young, at-risk, vulnerable youth, were very, very minimum. And what I sought to do was create an opportunity for direct intervention clubs to become now the norm. And what is a direct intervention club? When we did flip the script, when we started, there were many of the young at-risk youth who identified things that they like doing, to be a barber, Some of them wanted to bake. Some of them wanted to cook. Some of them wanted to become designers. How do you design and you can't sew? How do you become a chef and can't cook? So what we sought to do is put strategies and opportunities in place that the direct intervention clubs will go into communities. And yes, you are correct, Minister. Many persons shy away from the opportunity to go into that community and have engagement or have interactions with these youth. And that is what the National Peace Program is doing. We are engaging them, but we're also offering them the opportunity to be trained, to be taught, to be given an opportunity.
The Electoral and Boundaries Commission returns to normal operations and regular registration process as of February 1st, 2024. That's according to Minister of Industry, Innovation, Science and Technology, Marcia Cadell. She says EBC will now move to the stage of validating the addresses of those who have pre-registered.
That this is a standard electoral function and practice with respect to the register of voters. Address verification is done on a rolling basis and has for decades been used to maintain the integrity of the voting system by address and by constituency. The process itself is not unique to the new ID, though on this occasion, all new registrants, not just electors, will have our addresses verified. Why? Sir, this is required if the information on addresses must stand as a true representation of proof of address, as it must for financial institutions, utilities, and others.
Pakistan's former Prime Minister Imran Khan has been jailed for 10 years over the leaking of state secrets just days ahead of elections. Khan's party has called it a sham trial. Here's a quick summary of what we know.
Well, the former Prime Minister Imran Khan and the former Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi were being tried in a special court. They're already under detention in jail, in Adiala jail, which is not very far from here. This special court, of course, went late into the night last night, and that, of course, raised a lot of eyebrows given the fact that it was seen to be done in haste. So 10 years rigorous imprisonment now announced by that judge. Now earlier, the Islamabad High Court had ruled that this has to be an open trial. The media must be given access. His legal team must be given access. However, that was denied. The judge appointed his own defense counsel and then read out this sentence of 10 years rigorous imprisonment in a diplomatic cipher, which is communication between the embassy and the foreign ministry. He was accused of divulging that which is seen to be a state secret, so therefore the Official Secrets Act. However, his lawyers said that this was a travesty of justice given the fact that despite the Islamabad High Court's order, the media was not allowed and they were not allowed to represent him as far as his legal team is concerned.
A break-in at a gas station that involved money being taken from an automatic teller machine has had far-reaching consequences for the business and community. The incident happened last December, but it's still impacting residents and workers in the area. The Rubis gas station was burgled and thousands of dollars reportedly taken from the Scotiabank automated teller machine inside. Police sources have confirmed that the Belplain St. Andrew incident took place, but did not give any more details. I spoke with the representative for Northern SS and Company Limited, the company which operates the gas station. An on-camera interview was denied, but he confirmed the unfortunate incident, noting the community is still dealing with the consequences. He said on entering the building, the thieves went directly for the ATM and removed all the cash, and following the incident, the bank removed the machine. He added it has impacted his business and the community quite a bit, as St. Andrew doesn't have a lot of these amenities, and many relied on it to get salaries, cash, and pay bills. According to him, the station is also losing because customers getting cash usually spent some of it at the convenience store or the nearby farm and garden store, which he also operates. Having been in business for almost 30 years, he says they experience many forms of crimes, from robberies by gunmen to break-ins at night.
This one came after an incident free 2 years, but was different because the ATM was targeted. With a municipal center, schools, and an agricultural station in the area, the machine was heavily used. The postal workers told me they now have to journey to Spikestown or Horse Hill, several miles away, to access an ATM. Others who were accustomed to using it have lamented its removal. The burglary is still under investigation by police. Wendy Burke, CBC News.
As Queen's College celebrates its 141st anniversary, students are being told to embody the school's motto and be the light in society. The advice from alumni Mr. Darian Miller as he delivered the feature address at a Thanksgiving service in the school's hall. He notes this could manifest in selfless service to peers and fellow citizens.
What does Fiat Lux and when you graduate Further Lux mean in a practical sense? What does carrying the light look like on a day-to-day basis? The thing about light is that it is most effective in dark spaces. Dark spaces can be uncomfortable, they can be confusing, and oftentimes cold. Light brings warmth, clarity, and comfort to a situation, and that is what is expected of you as lights. Oftentimes, being a light, illuminating paths for others, can be extremely taxing. Light is one of those things that often goes unappreciated and unrecognized, oftentimes.
And Miller wants Queen's College students to remain focused on achieving their respective goals.
There are some people who you will encounter in this life that prefer to operate in the dark and in secret, and they always want to shut light down. They come saying things like, "Why are you doing so much? That's not worth it. Stop being extra." Those phrases come in different variations, but the root of what they're saying is, you are raising the standard, and I'm comfortable where it currently is. When these encounters with darkness happen, you always have a choice. Do I grow dimmer and fade away into obscurity, or do I use that as fuel to shine brighter?
Coming up on Morning Report, on the Morning Barbados, that's the end of Morning Report, we're going to have Renee Cobham and Tamika Thompson, both of Berger Paints, telling us all about their benchmarking study.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
And I am back with Renee Cobham, who's the Senior Brand and Trade Officer with Berger Paints, and Tamika Thompson, who's their Regional Sales Manager. Good morning and welcome, ladies.
Good morning.
And they said that in perfect harmony, just like the colors are going to blend, so are they. Now that we're talking about blending, Berger has decided to have a benchmarking study. Tell me what that actually entails, Tamika. Who are you looking to put yourself above?
Okay, so last year, Ansel McCall, our parent company, would have commissioned this benchmarking study through the Paint Research Association in the UK. And the purpose of this study was for us to measure ourselves against our competitors, but more importantly, to see if there were any areas of improvement that we needed to do internally with the technology of our paint.
Okay. Now, in terms of those improvements, Renee, have you had to? What response have you had from the brand since the study? You know, what have you topped up, changed, altered?
Well, actually, the research confirmed what we already knew. Berger Paints, for us, being around it, is number one, but the Paint Research Association solidified that for us. We know that it is number one in terms of flexibility, in terms of low VOC, in terms of being able to cover grade, high algae and fungal resistant, things like that, things that you, the consumers, would have asked about. And from time after time, giving us feedback on what you want out of a product. Quick dry time, for instance, to get that project finished, you know, in short timelines. Those are the types of things that we would have worked on over time, but now the Paint Research Association, through this benchmarking exercise, not just the regional brands, but international brands, we know this.
Okay, so that is awesome to hear. And I guess now, Tamika, knowing that we stand up against some of the renowned international ones,
that's correct.
The push is going to be even greater into the islands.
That's correct. But I think I told Renee what surprised me is not that we caught the number one position, but we caught number one and number two. And these are against international brands and also local brands that are playing in our sphere right now.
Okay, that's interesting. Now, Renee, you mentioned a few names that the general public or the novices to paint may not know. You spoke about low VOCs. The algae, I figured that one out. But there's some other terminology. Oh, flexibility.
Yes.
Are we talking about with the emulsion? Are we talking about a latex paint? Because when I hear flexible, I'm thinking latex. And we're, you know, it's going to cover certain areas better. But what are we talking about? Which one stood out?
You that use work at Berger.
No, I don't want to work there, but I could pass. You
don't? But yes, these are things like now that we are getting an increase in, let's say, earthquakes, because they're basically earthquakes and tremors. And from the time your structure shifts, you can then see those like hairline cracks and whatnot. Before this became like what now seems to be like a little bit more frequent. That's something that our technology manager here, meaning Debbie Amber, good morning, Debbie, right? And also the other technology managers across the region would have built into the formulations. So when we have like a shift, and when I say shift, like the earth shifts, or if somebody's doing construction next to you and it actually ruptures or disturbs your foundation, it does not disturb your beautiful finish. So you don't have a crack, a tear, a peel, or anything of that nature occurring on your recently done paint job. It is an investment.
So nobody will know that I had a little inch of a shift because it'll still look like everything's perfect.
Correct. One of the other things too that we topped in, aside from the flexibility, is coverage and also, what was it now?
Quick drying time.
Yes, quick dry time.
Yes, quick drying time.
And very good adhesion.
Yes.
While our textured product was not part of that study, we make all of our products to that standard. So anything that Berger Paints puts out, regardless of it is a superior brand or super premium brands like Weatherproof and Royale, one for the interior, one for the exterior, or our textured finish like Trowel-On, for instance, and sneak peek of something else that may come. Right. We make all of our products with that in mind. So the consumer does not have to feel as though, well, it only in Everglow or is this only in Weatherproof? No, it is in everything
that you do now that you've done the benchmark study.
Yes.
Now, Tamika, in terms of the study, she spoke about the climate impact part of it with earthquakes. But what about in terms of the other things we get, the constant rain and all the sunshine and having color fade and all washouts? How did it measure up against those things?
Okay, as I said, I wasn't surprised on the number one spot, but I was surprised that we caught 1 and 2, and it was in those very areas. So resistance to weather, our paint was made manufactured in Barbados and made especially for our climate. So algae, mold, mildew, anything of that nature, Berger paints, your paint will withstand that.
Okay.
My favorite brand is Weatherproof, my personal favorite, and Royale. Weatherproof is used on the outdoors of your home, and it's a semi-gloss finish, and Royale is an interior finish. You can get it in gloss and semi-gloss.
Okay, so that is quite interesting to know that, you know, we can be ensuring that the look is still always there.
Yes.
Now, what some of your well-known customers, like some of your higher-end contractors, etc., who buy oodles and gallons upon gallons, once they heard about the benchmark, how did that impact upon them? Did you find that the focus may have shifted, or they started to buy more products with greater regularity, etc.?
I think when persons hear that you're number one, it changes the concept of how you think and how you purchase. We are number one, and we stand by that. And we stand by that motto. I don't know if you remember years ago when they had that Berger Paints ad for lasting beauty and protection.
Yes.
That deep voice, that gentleman you would see that ad showing the landscape of Barbados. We stand by that, and now our products, now with this benchmarking, knowing that we are number one and COP number two, and even in some instances number three against all of these local and international competitors, it solidifies who we are.
Okay, well, I want to see exactly who you are, and you're going to show us coming up shortly.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Have a paint color in mind but not sure where to go? Come to any of the Color Shop Painter Studios, conveniently located at Brandon's off the Mighty Granite Highway, Town Square, Spicestown, or some Plaza Worthing. At the Color Shop, you can select from the Berger brands you know, the colors you love, and the tools you will need to get the job done. From prep to paint, vision to reality, every coat, every color, every tool, under one roof. The Color Shop Painter Studio.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Yes, and we are now going to get to see why Berger is number one in terms of its benchmarking standard. Now, they told you all about the different types of paint they had. For me, I know oil paint and I know emulsion paint, but they've told you all about some of the other brands, the Everglow, the Royale, the Weatherproof, and all of the different things that they are getting up to. We've heard that it has actually helped their sales to grow significantly because, you know, once you have that benchmark and you're standing out as number one, everyone is ready to go, you know. So let's now find out how this paint holds up and looks at what we're doing. So tell me, Renee, what are we going to be doing here this morning in terms of our paints?
Well, I brought the selection of products for you to see. We have our Everglow, of course, Weatherproof, Royale, and Royale Semi-Gloss and Royale Gloss. I'll give you, this is like that segment where children get to mark upon walls and get things a little bit dirty. Yes, so I brought for you and the public to see basically how our product works. And on each board here, we have, and people do this differently, let me just say that. People have their own paint system. So in the top corner for any of the brands here, we have one coat primer and one top coat. You can see that there's good coverage there, but it's not as great as it should be.
Yes.
Then there is one primer, two top coats. Now, bear in mind, this is the recommended way that we would like you to do it.
Okay.
But sometimes due to cost, persons would go this route. You don't see anything, but still, we want that you really get that lasting beauty and that protection.
Well, what is your motto? Berger
Yes,
paints
for lasting beauty and protection. Exactly.
Yes.
And then some people might just skip the primer altogether and go to top coats straight off the bat. And you can see, yes, the difference. I don't know if the viewers at home will be able to see the difference. But in terms of this, our paint, regardless of how you choose the paint system, it covers. So be it in white, be it in something like coral, be it in something like Morning Glory, or a bit here of like a little gardenia, yes. So here now, I have just a marker. I also have some mustard here so people can identify, say, it's just a marker.
Okay.
No, I have like a little marker here, making a mark. Children like to do
they
things.
do this often.
Yes, and you can just
yes.
come, get a little bit of soapy water and clean it off.
And
just
that's
like
a
that.
permanent marker that we're using there?
No, permanent marker is permanent.
Oh,
now. Come
okay.
on.
I just want to be
that
sure.
can stand by its own,
goody.
own being. But now for something like mustard now, and we recommend Royale semi-gloss for the interior. It is a luxury interior emulsion.
Okay.
And what makes it also great is that you can paint the inside of your home and still remain in there. Again, you the consumers wanted to have a beautiful finish on the inside, but not have the smell or the odor associated with
that's
paint.
what I was just going to come to, because sometimes you have to leave the house for a few days once you've done internal painting. But not with this brand.
No. So here I am applying mustard to the finish. And you're like, oh my goodness, I cooking. I ruining my paint finish. Oh my goodness. Oh, and you're wiping it off. It's like, oh, I can still see a little mark. You get the soap and you wipe it off. You do not ruin your paint finish in no form or fashion. You still have your Royale, you still have your beautiful finish. Judy could come over and Judy's not gonna see that
or be able to say, well, look how you dirty up there. The painter didn't do it properly.
Exactly.
What have you. Okay.
And lastly, before we wrap up, this is our color library too. We have 2,000 plus colors in which you can choose from. People like to venture into white still.
And it kills me to know how many whites there actually are in this
Yes,
spectrum.
we have so many whites here, but luckily we also have a color visualizer too on colorshop.com. You just go up to visualizer, you can upload your picture and it will cut it out for you and you can apply colors to it. So it takes a lot of the guesswork and a lot of the uncertainty with color. We want to make sure that when we venture into color with you, that you are color confident and also we are solutions providers for you.
Okay.
And what I would invite you to do, Wendy, I brought some samples here for some of our products for you to smell.
Okay.
You are representing John Public, so this is our weatherproof here.
Okay.
All right.
No wheezing.
Okay, great. Weatherproof is for the exterior. This is our Everglow.
I can use this and go to sleep. I don't have to worry about putting down those buckets of water and
onion in it. Yes, exactly. So, and then this is our Royale. Again, we're speaking
or
of
coffee beans as well. Yeah, they
True.
use those as well to eliminate odor.
And this is our Royale semi-gloss.
I can actually see the glow. You sure it's just semi-gloss?
Semi-gloss.
Because it's gleaming at me like pearls.
Right, so this here is a base. So when you put the colorants in it, like where you can get any of these colors here, but basically this is the what you would call the foundation to it. So this is the aroma that you will get. So you can paint and have it as a paint project with your child or with the person with asthma. Now these are competitor brands. We don't participate or do those types of things of name names, but this is a competitor brand.
Okay.
All right. That's one. And this is doing like with like. So it's not, all of these are emulsion brands.
Okay.
So it's not like if there's oil
So you're not
on here.
comparing the oil to the, you're not cheating here.
Correct. So
Get
this is
it.
competitor B here.
Yeah, that's a bit stronger.
And then competitor C. Some of them are just like us in terms of the odor, or I should say the aroma is very light.
That's almost like hair straightener.
Yes, yes, it is very pungent and it is very strong indeed. And these are indeed competitor brands, but we're just showcasing to you and to the listeners and the viewers at home that when you choose a brand like Berger, we're not sticking just by the lasting beauty and protection, but we are also taking into consideration what you ask for: low odor, quick dry, something that will not harm the environment. So that's where the low VOC.
We are so happy to hear that, Renee.
Yes.
So happy to have heard that and to know all that Berger has to offer us. I want to thank Renee and Tamika for joining us this morning. We'll be back after the break.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. La la la, la la la.
Are you a youth group, 4-H club, school, Cub Scout or Brownie Pack, or any organization or club with children ages 4 to 11 years? If yes is the answer, then we at Fun School, we're looking for you. Let's have fun singing, dancing, listening to amazing stories, doing craft, and so much more. I'm such a kid at heart. But to be part of this fun and exciting new season of Fun School, just simply send an email to Alicia Alves Grant at aagrant@cbc.bb for further details. Fun School is back, and we're looking for you.
While you go about your business, we go about our business, and that is gathering the news. Stay up to date at CBC News Barbados on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Get news update on radio throughout the day. And join us for the CBC News Night at 7 every night. CBC News team is on the job and bringing you the news.
There is a saying, you can find a Bajan anywhere. Are you a Bajan living abroad? Or do you know of one who has migrated to another country? Well, we at Mornin Barbados would love to have you or them on our Bajan Affair segment. Share your amazing stories, experiences, and how you have adapted to a new culture. Send us an email to morninbarbados@cbc.bb, and together we will travel the world.
Oh, hi. My name is Stacia Whitaker, and I'm a registered dietitian nutritionist and a member of the Heart and Stroll Childhood Obesity Prevention Coalition. My motto is, when in doubt, leave it out, and it goes for when I'm eating, because sometimes things have ingredients that we're not sure of, and I like to keep it simple. And if I'm eating something and I'm not sure the ingredients in that particular thing, then I choose to leave it out. So I keep my snacking simple with fruit, nuts, or just water. It's easy to remember, there's no added ingredients, and it's also very nutritious. So remember, childhood obesity is
Morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
I have with me now some young men. Yes, they are from the College Robotics Club. That is Harrison College, as we all know. I want to get into the club, as well as Takiri Sargent, who is a member of the Robotics Club. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
Right. Now, the club has been teaching you all how to develop robotics and go a little beyond that. And you've been involved in various contests, outreaches, etc. But something has happened recently. Tell us about it, Giovanni.
Okay, so recently we would have entered the Caribbean STEM Olympiad in the robotics category. We entered in level 2, so that would be ages, I believe, 15 to 18. And we presented a robot. This robot was aimed at taking care of plants. So we did it in a way where it would be able to water the plants, it would be able to monitor the environment within the box, telling you the moisture content, so the humidity, the temperature. You were able to regulate how much light the plant was getting, so replicating the sun. The whole theory of it was that by doing all of this and controlling the environmental factors within the box, then we would be able to do research on plants, help with agriculture. We would be able to take care of plants that you wouldn't typically see in Barbados, thus increasing biodiversity. And of course, we could use it at home to take care of our houseplants.
Okay. Now, it sounds like you all aren't only just looking at the robotics of it, but you're also including a little bit of biology, agricultural science, a whole set of things that you're looking at there in terms of this particular robot. Does it have a name?
We called it the plant care robot.
That's all. Just very simple.
Not very creative. But, yeah.
Okay. So Takiri, in terms of this robot and the Olympiad, where did you all end up in terms of the prize?
Well, we ended up getting silver. The prize is 300.
I believe,
Yeah.
300 US, I think it
Okay.
is, that we got.
And that's going to go toward building another robot.
Well, I think we're splitting it amongst the group.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's great then, that you're going to split the money up. Now, outside of that particular fair, Olympiad, Giovanni, are you looking to, because you're now deputy head boy, which means you're in sixth form, getting ready to exit with Kate. So, are there going to be any other things you're going to be entering for the course of this term? Or is it by the time you're gone, you'll have to pass the mantle on to Takiri and some of the others?
Well, hopefully, if something comes up, we would certainly like to enter. But the truth is, in the club, we don't just do the competitions. So we would also do, as you would have mentioned, outreach. Something that we typically do would be to present at public events. Like we went to AgroFest, where we presented there, just sensitizing the public to robotics, because of course we're going to see it involved in a lot of our daily lives. But what we're doing, or what we plan to do this term, is actually a presentation at a primary school to teach the younger children's robotics and to allow them to gain an appreciation for the field. So we're looking to do that this term. We're not sure if we would have any other competitions to enter in, but if the opportunity arises, of course, we would love to take it. Yes.
Now, Takiri, how do you feel about teaching these smaller children all about building and putting together these robots?
Well, I think it's a good idea, as we are getting more in depth in technology, and we're going to see a lot of robots, a lot more. And I think they should at least know what they're going to see much sooner. And I think it's a good thing to get into.
Okay. And what would have prompted you, Giovanni, to originally get into the club?
Well, I founded the club in 2018. So that would have been before robotics was in schools officially by government. So my whole thing was that robotics is something we need. The rest of the world was doing it years before. I believe that they were like 20 years ahead of us in terms of technology at that time. So having an opportunity for the Harazonians and for other people outside of the school to come into the club and do robotics, that was something that was very important for me.
Okay. So how many hours after school would you guys spend typically putting together a robot? I see you there posing with the Prime Minister and some of the prizes that you would have won, you know, over the time, the former Minister of Innovation. So you're being recognized. This club is being recognized and well recognized.
Yeah, so what we do, we have two different approaches that we take with the robotics. The first would be the general sessions. We do that at lunch times on Tuesday. So that's about an hour typically. And anybody, regardless of the age or what you're interested in, can come in and learn about robotics. Then we would have the different projects we do outside of school, things like the Olympiad, different competitions, presentations that we would do. Those you typically would do after school or in your free time.
Okay.
So that's where the majority of your time would be spent if you really want to go deep in the robotics and help out the club. Yeah.
You even have your own logo and everything.
Yes.
Now, Takiri, in terms of that water the plant robot, what for you was one of the things that you enjoyed most in terms of seeing it in action?
Well, in action, I guess the best thing was when it was working.
It stopped working now?
Yeah, it's working.
Okay.
We had mishaps that happened, but we fixed it right before the competition.
Okay, so that's awesome. It was able to do that. Now, what I want to find out from you, Giovanni, is if you want to perhaps think about how you can re-engineer this particular robot, perhaps look at creating a copyright and a patent for it, and build it on a larger scale to help horticulturalists, to help farmers, to help householders who may be lovers of houseplants.
Well, we would be able to or rather, we would like to be able to do that. Of course, we would need sponsorship to really develop the ideas. But the slogan of our club is actually "To the Future." So we are not there yet. Right now, we're just trying to come up with the ideas and just demonstrate that we can use robotics to benefit society. In our last competition, we would have done a robot that folds clothes that was to benefit the elderly, so that it gives them a sense of freedom, able to do their chores at home alone. But now we are doing the agriculture, and hopefully, if we get the money and we're able to really develop this idea, then we could look into patenting it, to implementing the robot at a large scale, because it really does have a lot of benefits. As I said, you would be able to even plant things that you wouldn't see, like strawberries, for example. You would be able to do that in Barbados, being able to control
right, because you spoke about temperature
right,
control.
the temperature, the humidity. We're looking to add different features of the robot, like controlling even soil pH. So things like that definitely would be very useful in Barbados, and we would love to continue developing this.
Okay, so do you guys work along with other clubs, either science or robotics clubs from other schools? Takir?
Well, I'm new to the club.
Okay.
So I really do not know, but I think that we work with other clubs when we get a chance to, because I think it would be a good experience for everybody. And we're one country.
We all go forward together.
Yeah.
Yes. So Giovanni, you said we're not there yet, but it is the future. A lot of people are afraid of robots, and they see robots disabling rather than enabling, because people talk about them taking jobs, doing whatever. So how do you get across that message that they're actually more helpful than we think?
Well, there are two things that I like to tell people. The first is that a robot can't take your job. There's not ever a time that you can see a robot go into your workplace, go to the computer, type out an email and send you home. That cannot happen. So what you have to look at then is for controlling how people use the robots, how the robotic systems are actually implemented. So we have things like trade unions, for example, or rather unions, which can look at making sure that everybody is treated fairly and that right and equally. So if you could approach the unions and be proactive about it, trying to make sure that we can get legislations that say only X amount of the workforce can be can be robotic, then you're making sure that there's this synergy, that it's robots and humans working together rather than
taking over.
Right.
Okay.
So that's the whole goal, just cooperation, developing teams of both humans and machines.
And I am so happy that you're on this path. I wish you both well as you continue in your STEM quest. You were ahead, but the government has now enabled more and more schools to also have their own robotics. So I want to thank so much Giovanni Gittins and Takiri Sargent, both of the College Robotics Club. Morning Barbados will be back after the break.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Oh, hi. My name is Stacia Whitaker, and I'm a registered dietitian nutritionist and a member of the Heart and Stroke Childhood Obesity Prevention Coalition. My motto is, when in doubt, leave it out, and it goes for when I'm eating because sometimes things have ingredients that we're not sure of, and I like to keep it simple. And if I'm eating something and I'm not sure the ingredients in that particular thing, then I choose to leave it out. So I keep my snacking simple with fruit, nuts, or just water. It's easy to remember, there's no added ingredients, and it's also very nutritious. So remember, childhood obesity is real, so choose healthier alternatives. And when in doubt, leave it out.
Enjoy movies, soaps, drama, comedy, inspiration, education, music, and more. You get it all when you get MCTV, because MCTV gives you more.
The facts say Morning Barbados reaches an audience of over 50,000 and Newsnight reaches over 56,000. It's simple. When you advertise, you're getting your message to over 50,000 of your potential customers. Make the call to CBC Sales Department today and watch your business grow. Contact us at 467-5559 or email marketing@cbc.bb. From the beautiful shores of the gem of the Caribbean, Barbados, home of the amazing Harrison's Cave, the tantalizing Oystins Bay Garden, our historic garrison, the indigenous road tennis, and the friendliest people in the world. We are.
I'm back and I'm keeping it safe. That's an acronym for shaping adolescents to function in their environment. We're going to be talking to the founder of that organization as well as the program director. I want to welcome Mr. Fabian Sargent, who's the founder of SAFE, along with Carson Brathwaite, the program director. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you. Hi, good morning. Welcome. Good morning. Thank you.
Right. Now, I would have seen you all operating in 2023, but we're now in 2024. And SAFE wants to get a few more volunteers on board.
Yes, actually it is Safe Zone. As you said, shaping adolescents to function in their environment. It is a project of Men Empowerment Network support. Okay. So so the men's organizations, this is the component that focuses on the younger boys. So we focus on boys 12 to 18 years old. And it is important because, we need to, the program really is about empowering these youngsters and helping them to cope with their whole social and emotional well-being. It is a 10-week program. In the initial stage, but it actually runs for an entire year.
Because you switch in different...
Yes, correct.
Okay.
So we do 10 weeks. The initial part is 10 weeks where they're exposed to a number of educational sessions, team building. We work on a number of what we consider success skills. Then the second part is where we divert them into sporting programs to keep them active, keep them engaged, to really reinforce the skills that they would have learned. The third part, there is a professional development component where we extract about half of the boys, and they then go through.
As we can see them here.
Yes, they then go through a whole set of professional training where they have to dress in ties, they get to go through interview skills, interview techniques, and business development. A whole set of stuff. Okay. Really trying to take them to another level.
From boys to men.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perhaps, Carson, you can tell us in terms of some of the programs that were undertaken for 2023. Just give us a capsule of where some of them may have found themselves being trained, people who may have mentored them, and so on.
Yeah, sure. What we basically had was sessions dealing with emotional intelligence, because it was a key area for us where, as Fabian likes to say, when you ask one of the boys how you're doing, they say, hey, all right, or I hear. But really they can't explain the emotions they are feeling because they were never exposed. So one of the key things that we did was to expose them to emotions. Another thing we did was also to extend that to the family, where they were asked to have their parents complete the emotional assessment, so then they have a better understanding of how the parents think and why they do what they do, and how they relate it back then to how they can interact.
So it doesn't just teach the young men how to function on their own, but it lets them see themselves as part of the family unit and how they need to be better for greater harmony.
Yes,
that's correct.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, in terms of the zones and the fact that we are dealing with some at-risk young men, what were some of the things you've seen in the time SAFE has been going that these young men have actually been able to overcome, and how they've been able to stand out and turn life around?
So a lot of these youngsters would have a lot of confidence in a major way. Many of them come from homes where there are no fathers. Hence, that's why we try to create an environment of men and mentors. And one of the reasons why we are here, trying to reach out to get male volunteers into the program. So these boys who lacked a lot of confidence throughout the entire program, they were able then to really tap into their inner strengths, where they can articulate differently much better. We were even able to get some of these guys, build their confidence in such a way. We actually had a youngster who represented Barbados at the Pan Am Games recently, and in wrestling, you know, and that was something that really, I guess a lot of those skills would have developed or built throughout the entire Safe Zone program. So we do have a lot of success stories, and even parents who, because we don't only work with the boys, we have to work with the parents as well. We have a number of parents who are able now to communicate better with their children, with their boys. They get to understand the developmental stage of adolescence, what these boys are going through, how they are feeling, and I guess being able to provide the necessary support for these boys as they move into their manhood.
Yeah. Now, you, Carson, you volunteer as well.
Yes.
What drives you to want to do this that would make other men want to give up, say, a Saturday? I think that's the day I remember seeing you all. Yes. Want them to give up part of their Saturday to help people that, as we say, they don't know from Adam.
Yeah. Well, basically, when I was growing up, well, my father died when I was 11. And I got mentorship from older guys in the community and from my teachers at school. Now, I recognize that the ratio of men to women, as teachers know, has shifted. And there are a lot more women. And so the mentorship that I got from my secondary school education, these guys will not be able to get that. And so we now have to pull on other resources to be able to develop these young men. And what drives me is that I turned out to be successful, and I would like to see the same for those young men, because at the end of the day, we all live in this society, and we all will probably have kids coming up in this society, and we need to make it a society that we are comfortable. Yes, very much so. We need to make it safe.
We need to use the acronym and make it safe.
Right,
because,
so right.
Yeah, because we keep hearing over and over and over again, our young men are too deviant, they're too volatile, they get too angry, they fuss up about things that they shouldn't, that kind of thing. But again, as Carson was saying earlier, it's because they're not fully in touch with emotions. So usually when you have frustrations and no outlet, you retaliate.
Correct.
So let's talk about that now. What outlets are you looking to create in 2024 in terms of those safe spaces that you will have them training in and so on?
Okay, so the program is heavily built on, as you said, we created that safe space. So along with having group counseling, we're going to be having individual counseling. We're going to be taking them on a number of tours to give these young people more exposure and get them to understand their environment. We are also working with the secondary schools that they attend. So right now we pretty much have about 10 schools that we've identified to work with. So while we are having the behavioral change interventions within Safe Zone, we are also working with schools that could be like a continuum, as well as we're working with the homes.
Okay.
So those are the spaces that we are really tapping into to keep these boys grounded and supported.
Now, outside of the soft skills that you do, Do you also, I can see a group of them here graduating from one of your recent sessions. I think that would have been your last cohort?
Yes, correct.
Okay, all right. Now, in terms of the numbers, and given that you're asking for volunteers now, how do you try to work those ratios out?
Okay, so we have a 1-to-5 ratio. So our program is professionally built. So we have professional social workers, psychologists, and trained teachers as well. So we try to make sure we have that standard, that quality there, okay? So we keep the numbers very small and manageable so that it's not only about quantity, having all these boys, but have enough persons that can assist not only in the sessions as professionals, but also supporting, and that's where we need extra volunteers. Women are involved as well,
okay.
But we need to have
strong
a lot more men. Yeah, so that's why we are pushing for men. We men cannot be empowered without women. We need women, but we also need the presence of men. So I'm really pleading to men out there to visit our social media pages. The link is there, Safe Zone BDS, our Men Empowerment Network support, or even my personal page, Fabian Sargent, on Facebook and on Instagram. And the registration link is there, the roles and responsibilities and expectations, and all the information
it's all
is there.
online.
Everything is there.
So folks, go on out and try to help this nation's young boys become men. Morning Barbados will be back after the break.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
From the beautiful shores of the gem of the Caribbean, Barbados, home of the amazing Harrison's Cave, the tantalizing Oystins Bay Garden, our historic garrison, the indigenous road tennis, and the friendliest people in the world. We are 94.7 FM, the ultimate Bajan experience.
Hi, I'm Dr. Kia Lewis, General Practitioner and Healthy Lifestyle Advocate. Good nutrition starts at home. So this school year, I want you to consider packing healthy, nutritious snacks and lunches for your children to carry, rather than having them buy them at school. And don't just pack things you think they should have. Have a discussion and come up with things that you both know they will enjoy.
We enjoy a game of dominoes and singing karaoke.
I just love crew.
When you love me just a little bit long. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Yes, we've had a great show this morning. We've talked to HERMAB, that is, and they've told you to accept and embrace change within the workplace trends. Berger Paints, they were along to tell us all about their Berger's benchmark study. They've come out not only #1, but #2 as well. And their paints are resisting the effects of climate change. Also, we had two brilliant young men with us from Harrison College talking about robotics and how we need to see them as part of life and to use them for the benefit of what we do every day. Also want to encourage you all as the week goes along to be part of the Myeloma, Lymphoma and Leukemia Foundation's walk on Sunday at the Bay Street Esplanade. Also, the AgriFest 2024 vendors, they're going to be along with us tomorrow, as well as the Apiculture Association and the Barbados Men's Health and Wellness event being done by the Ministry of Health. So those are the things you can look forward to tomorrow. It's been a great day today. Whatever you do today, make sure and do it well. Now, we also are going to be having this. Yes, today's Wednesday, tomorrow's Thursday, so get yourself ready for Q in the community at Sargent Sports Bar there in Holders Hill at the Desmond Haynes playing field. So as you know, Q in the community is always a big one. Q is good for you. So get those clothes on, go on out and enjoy yourself at Q in the Community beginning at 11. Yes, so lots to look forward to tomorrow. I'm going to be looking forward to seeing you because it's going to be the first day in February. So let's see what the month of love will bring our way as we here on Morning Barbados bring you informative things each and every morning. On behalf of the crew and myself, it's been a pleasure to be here with you, wishing you a fantastic Wednesday.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Barbados, get up. Good morning.